Hey, this is Leif Ganford. I played the cash register thief in The Amazing Spider-Man, and you're listening to the Everything Geek podcast.
Hey, this is Rich McDonald, and I play Commander David Mason on Call of Duty Black Ops 2. And you're listening to Everything Geek podcast.
Hello, I'm Simon Fisherbecker. You probably know me better as Dorian Moldovar from Doctor Who, or the Fat Friar from Harry Potter. And this is Everything Geek Podcast.
Your attention, masters, mistresses. All systems functional for the Everything Geek Podcast.
Hey, it's James Arnold Taylor, the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Master Plo Koon in Star Wars The Clone Wars, and you're listening to Everything Geek, the podcast.
Face it, Tiger. You just hit the jackpot with the Everything Geek podcast.
You're listening to the Everything Geek podcast. I'm your host Ruari, and joining me are co-hosts Lawron and Lawrson.
Hello.
Also joining us today is a very special guest. We have actor Cory Michael Smith, who stars as Edward Nygma, aka the Riddler in Gotham, and previously played Tommy Tucker in Carol, Bergen in Camp X-Ray, and Kevin Coulson and Olive Kitteridge. How are you today, Cory?
Oh, wow, you're going to read my whole resume.
You're very well.
I'm great, guys. How are you?
On the podcast today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in LA. This is like... This is the wonders of technology, to be live with you.
Technology has come a long way. So getting right into my first question for you, Cory. My first question is, how did you decide you wanted to become an actor?
Oh gosh. At first I wanted to be a concert pianist, and I started visiting schools to pursue that, and I got freaked out because... I kept meeting some strange birds, and I got really nervous that if I spent, decades sitting alone for 8 to 10 hours a day with an inanimate object, that I would, emerge as one of these guys who just doesn't really, I just kept meeting people who had really difficulty, like a lot of difficulty being social and interpersonal and sharing and asking questions. So I got really nervous, and I decided that I would pursue a different art form that was more collaborative. So that's kind of how I found acting. I had been doing it for a long time, but that's how I decided I wanted to pursue it as a career.
My father, actually, who ended up in cafes, he wanted to be a concert pianist initially, so it's actually interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, I love it, and I love the community, but it is, it's a lot of solitude to study your craft and perfect your craft.
So, into Gotham with my next questions, of course, and obviously last week there was a really big episode, Into the Woods, which we will get into a little later on, but
yeah.
I want to look back a little earlier in Season 2 first. So one of the things that I've enjoyed most in Season 2 of Gotham is seeing Edward Nygma and the Penguin becoming friends, and the dynamic they now have. Have you enjoyed getting to develop this friendship and working more closely with Robin Lord Taylor this season?
Yes, well, yes. first of all, Robin Lord Taylor and I have become very, very dear friends. So we were outrageously enthusiastic to get to work together again. And then secondly, it just feels so appropriate that our worlds should collide. And so, when we started it, our producers and writers are so aware of how close Robin and I are off camera. And so they were interested in seeing what our dynamic would really truly be like for us to spend a lot of time together on camera. Because sometimes it's good, and then sometimes people that are friends are just actually don't necessarily work well together because it can get competitive and awkward and whatnot. And so we had such a good time. So we did this little trial run to merge us together, and it was a great time. And then it just kind of happened in the plot that we needed to kind of get ripped apart a little bit and make our relationship a little messy because we got along so well, and there always has to be some sort of conflict. So Hugo Strange messed with our friend's mind, and all of a sudden he's kind of just not useful to me as a good guy. It's freaky. It's really freaky, and I don't know what to do with that. So I threw him out on the street. So when our worlds come back together, there's going to be a little, I don't know how he'll respond to that.
Because in season 1, when you two shared that scene, and you were still, Nygma was still the good guy then, technically speaking, and the Penguin was obviously the bad guy, and now the roles sort of have reversed. Well, they've unreversed at this point, you're both bad guys, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. It definitely was a role reversal, which I think certainly threw Ed off. Oswald seemed out of sorts and whatnot, but it will be interesting if now that I've been chucked into Arkham Asylum, if and when I get out by whatever means, and I kind of need to start over and need a place, if I end up going to Oswald and he takes me in and takes the higher road, or if he kind of out of retribution or revenge rejects me.
So
should be interesting.
My next question, and this is one that I want to get your opinion on, because I've heard opinions from other Gotham fans, but I want to get your opinion on this. Towards the end of the first season and the first half of the second season, we see Nygma become split into two personalities, the nice guy and the darker side. In your opinion, following Kristen Kringle's death and the unsuccessful attempt to frame Jim Gordon, do you feel that Nygma has completely given in to his darker side and there's very little, if anything, of the nice guy left?
I just think that I do think there is good left in Edward, that there's good left in Edward, but I think that it will only come out if it helps him. He's going to be spending his time volunteering for a local charity, but I do think that he will be kind to those that can help him. And I think we'll see that kind of behavior, I know that we'll see that kind of behavior in Arkham. When it's kind of a free-for-all, and there's not necessarily anarchy, but there is certainly a hierarchy that is established with whomever is at the asylum at the time. And the thing I can tease is that, Ed really get along with people very well, despite his many efforts, enthusiastic efforts. And people didn't really get him, understand him. And the thing is, he goes into Arkham Asylum, and all of a sudden, he just kind of gets these people, and he gets how they work. And if you make a crazy person feel not crazy, they kind of like you. And so all of a sudden, he's going to be, he's going to be kind of making friends and doing well.
Answer. Thank you for that. So, on to my next question. You did touch up on it a little bit there. Last week's episode, Into the Woods, saw Nygma get arrested and placed in Arkham Asylum. Is there anything you can tease about what Nygma will get up to while in Arkham? You did pretty much hint that he will befriend some of the inmates.
Anything I can tease? Well, like what I said before is about his relationship at Arkham is actually very, very important. Just because he kind of is, becomes a likable figure and an important figure there, and very quickly, and has his, he has a sort of power over the asylum, and it gets the attention of Hugo and Peabody quickly, and they'll use all the help they can get, I can say. But everybody's really sneaky and has their own motives about it, for sure.
Answer. My final question for you, Cory, outside of Gotham, do you have any other upcoming acting roles or any other projects that you would like to talk about?
Carol came out this past year with Kate Blanchett and Rooney Mara, and did very well, and was nominated for 6 Oscars. The gentleman that directed that, Todd Haynes, I'm going to be shooting his next film next month, in May, a little bit in May and a little bit in June before we go back for season 3.
We'll be sure to keep an eye out on IMDb and other places to find out more information about that. So
yeah, I don't know how much is out about the movie. It's they're keeping it under wraps for now, but it's going to be an adaptation of a graphic novel, and it'll be starring Julianne Moore, who he's worked with before. Todd likes to kind of have a repertoire of actors, so I'm very, very proud to be a part of that. And we'll be filming it in May and June, so it may, I don't know when it'll be released. It'll probably follow a very similar path as Carol did in terms of going to, a film festival first, and then a wider release in theaters.
So, thank you very much, Cory, for answering all of my questions. I'll let my co-host Lawron ask his now.
Yes, I've only got a few questions for you here, but first of all, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. I love your work on Gotham.
Thanks, man. Thank you. It's nice to talk to you guys.
Yes, and my first question, are there any funny behind-the-scenes moments you'd like to share from working on any of your projects?
Behind the scenes moments. I love this question because everyone's like, tell us some fun stories behind the scenes. And it's not that the people aren't lovely and wonderful, but everyone it's kind of boring because everyone gets along so well. So it's just kind of like a lovely set. The crew likes the actors, all the actors like each other. We don't have a diva. What can I share? I mean, I can say that Robin and I just recently went on vacation with a few people from the crew, and Robin's we're both remarkably pale. We for some reason went to a beach, and I think we went to Miami, and I think there was some visual scarring for people. Just the remarkable paleness that we were presenting, just pale villainy. It was very fun.
That's funny.
Yes, it was. We were gleaming in Miami. It was very difficult to miss us.
And that's very interesting. I can picture it in my head. What advice would you give to anyone looking to get into the acting industry as a whole?
Oh gosh. Well, I'm sure it's different in the UK than it is in the United States. But there are different ways to kind of get yourself in. I mean, if you're a young person, I would say training at university is probably the the best way to prepare yourself for a long-term career in acting that is based in technique. You know, to truly spend a lot of time studying technique and history and you know, theater versus camera work and all of that. But if you're an adult and school isn't really an option, or if school just isn't interesting to you, then, you know, taking private classes, I think classes and training is just so important in terms of being adaptable to different parts and different styles and different characters and working with different kinds of people. But there are, you know, I would definitely say take classes. In the U.S., there's so much television, and if you're living in a city where it's being made a lot, which isn't just L.A., you know, we film in New York. I think there are actually more shows filming in New York than there are in L.A., but Atlanta is a big TV city. Toronto in Canada, Vancouver in Canada has tons of television. Chicago has some. You know, if you're in one of those cities, the best way to kind of be on set and see how it works and kind of engage with that environment and make some money is to be an extra. But often when you're an extra, it might preclude you from becoming, from being on the show in a guest role. And I think for most cities, the only way to really get appointments for those kinds of shows are to have an agent. And so the real quandary becomes, how do you get an agent without having had work, but you can't get work without having an agent? So it's this where the struggle comes in is the hustle to find work and invite agents to the work and try to pitch yourself and sell yourself. And there's some books out there on like how to do that, how to get an agent, you know, how to work the business of acting. Those are all great books to read because it really is the catch-22. Needing an agent to get appointments, but having to have work in order to get an agent. So that's where the real hustle and struggle comes. You know, I was fortunate to get an agent from college, which I think is a story for a lot of young people graduating. It's very competitive, but that's how a lot of us acquire agents at first. But you ideally want to work toward getting an agent.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Answer. That was very good advice. Well, that's all the questions I have for you. Our co-host Lawrson has one last question for you.
Hey, Cory, I just got one question for you. I'm a really big fan, by the way.
Thank you.
I guess, what is it like getting out of character after being, you know, so intense on set as far as getting into Nygma's, you know, whole psychology? Like, what is it like getting out of that and going home the next day?
You know, I don't really struggle with it. I've been, and here's why. I've done a lot of theater, and theater is kind of a more intensive, nonstop art form. And by that I mean, you know, you rehearse 8 hours a day, 6 days a week while rehearsing, and then you go into tech and you're doing 12-hour days, 6 days a week, and then you go into a performance and you're doing performances 8 times a week, and then also doing other stuff during the day. But no one's setting up cameras and setting up lights, and you know, there's not a crew of 100 people that are trying to like make a shot look perfect before you do a scene. So you're literally spending 8 hours a day as a different human being, which that's a significant amount of time, and it starts to actually change a little bit. You know, it can change your posture if you're changing your body, or it can change your pattern of speech if your character speaks differently than you or breathes at a different rate or tempo or pace or whatever. Or how they communicate. It can kind of bleed into your life. But TV is faster than film for sure. But TV is, you know, we take 9 days to make 1 hour of television, 9 business days. You know, theater, you're just nonstop working for hours and hours and hours. So we, you know, over a course of a 10, 12, 14-hour day, I don't know how much we're actually acting. So it doesn't kind of absorb into me in the same way. What the real trick is to be able to like key into something and do it and then pull right back out and then come back and deliver something interesting. So it's more about like coming in and out for TV and film.
Exactly. That makes a lot of sense. It really does. Thank you so much. That really opens up a lot of answers that I had for the question. I'm going to go ahead and turn you back over to our host, Ruari. Thank you so much, Cory, for answering my question.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
That's all of our questions for you today, Cory. It's been a pleasure talking to you on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me on.
We'll talk to you again sometime. So we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then. Bye, and thanks again for joining us.
Yeah.
You
all right, guys. Have a good evening.
Thanks.
So that was our interview with actor Cory Michael Smith. Gotham airs Mondays on Fox. The latest episode, Pinewood, aired last night. So time to wrap up today's interview. Make sure to check out our podcast links. Check out our website, website.everythinggeekpodcast.com/EGP. Check out our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/everythinggeekpodcast. Check out our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/user/everythinggeekcast. Check us out on Twitter, twitter.com/everythinggeekp. Check us out on Instagram, instagram.com/official-everythinggeekpodcast. Check out our Mixcloud profile, www.mixcloud.com/everythinggeekpodcast. Email us at the below email, everythinggeekpodcast@gmail.com. Check out our companion podcast, Everything Geek Comiccast, www.facebook.com/everythinggeekcomiccast. Make sure to check out the host's YouTube channels. Mine is www.youtube.com/user/separatistdestroyers. Lawron's is www.youtube.com/user/starlegend9595. Larson's is www.youtube.com/user/centrivium. Check out Cory Michael Smith on Twitter, twitter.com/MrCMS. And check out Channel 138 where we broadcast live from www.channel138.com. So geeks out, everyone.